everyone, Janie here, and today I'm going to be making 3 trash to treasure projects for my craft room by altering 3 different containers. And I hope that you stick around for this process because I will be using different techniques on each one. The first one is going to be quick and easy, and I'll be using a tin can. Not the one you see here because I forgot to take a picture of it first. And I spray painted it with Rust-Oleum High Performance enamel, and I painted the inside and out, and I gave it 2 coats. And then I have this beautiful ribbon that I have had for a very long time, and it's sheer with green, pink, and blue dots that look like gems, and I just love the sparkle. And I'm going to be attaching that to the top and the bottom of the can. And something else that I've had for a very long time are these fun layered flowers with the gem in the center of each one, and they just happen to be the perfect colors to match the ribbon. And just like that, here's the finished can. And I love how it turned out, and it is so pretty, and it can be used for so many things, whether it be something in your craft room or something in your bathroom or wherever you'd like to use it. To give you some ideas, here are a couple of pictures showing it in my craft room and also showing it in my bathroom to hold my comb and brushes. And I'm sure you can think of some other ideas of your own. For this project, I'm using a plastic container that my dog's probiotics came in, and I love that these labels peel right off without leaving a trace of adhesive. So, it's ready to paint, and I'm using white Rust-Oleum spray paint that is a paint and primer in one, and it also bonds to plastic, which is perfect for a project like this. And I ended up giving this 3 coats, and for some reason I didn't paint the inside, but I really don't think it matters. And here are a few of the things that I'm going to be using on this project. Okay, for this one I'm going to be doing a little napkin crafting. So I have my napkin here, and I'm going to start off by just cutting it down so I'm not dealing with one huge napkin. And I'm actually going to be using both sides of this. But first, I'm going to cut it down just to the panel that I'm going to be using, and of course I'm not going to use the entire panel, but it just makes it easier. Okay, the next thing you want to do is remove any back layers, because a lot of napkins come with 2, 3 layers. This one appears to, have just the 1 layer behind it, but you want to make sure that you take that off. And I'll be doing the same thing to this one right here. So to get the image off from here, I can cut it, but I like using a water brush, which is basically a paintbrush that has water in the tube. You can use a regular paintbrush with some water. That works just fine. And in this case, I'm also going to do something else that might seem a little unusual. So I have a cutting die here, but I'm not going to use it as a cutting die. I'm going to use it to go around the outside of the image, just as a guide for me to use the water brush. So what the water brush does, and I'm making sure there's plenty of water down in there, what the water brush does is it makes it easy to tear around the edges. And that's what I like to do because I don't want a blunt edge. I'm not sure I'm getting enough water down in here, so hold on a second here. You know what? Let me go grab a little water. I think my water brush was having some issues. So let's try this again. Just dip my brush in there, and I'm just going to go around the edges. And as I was saying, it makes it easy to tear. And I like to tear it because I don't like a blunt edge. I like it to be kind of feathered, I guess is what you would call it. So to me it blends better when putting it on, whatever I'm going to put it on. It's just my choice. A lot of people, just use their scissors and and cut it out, and that works as well. And actually I'm just going to leave that on there while I tear around the edges. Makes it a little bit easier. So if you're new to napkin crafting, there's a variety of ways to do it. And like I said, you know, you could cut this, you could, I don't know. I have no idea what I'm talking about. I cannot talk and do this at the same time. But basically, this is actually the first time that I have ever used a cutting die or anything as a guide for doing this. So this is something that's actually new to me. Usually I would just take the water brush and just go around the image or the area that I wanted, you know, without having a guide. And that makes it a little bit more random, which is fine. Okay, so there we go. And then if I wanted to straighten that out a little bit more, I can, but I actually like it just the way it is. So there we go. And that will be going right on there. And actually, now that I'm looking at it, I still need to take a little bit off the edges because it kind of hangs over. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do the same thing to this one, and I'll be right back. Okay, I said I was going to do all of this first, and then I'd be right back, but I started thinking that number one, this was white on white, so you may not be able to see the edges. And the other thing is, if you are new to napkin crafting, and you know, I was talking about using the water brush without, you know, having, you know, something like the die cut here to, yeah, I know what I'm trying to say. You know, without having something as a guide, I wanted you to see how I would normally do this. And so I am back just to show you that you can just take the water brush or a paintbrush with water and just go around the edges, and then I just use my thumbnail to pull off the excess. And now I'm gonna, well, let me see, there's still a little bit more there. Let me pull that off. Okay, and then I'm gonna see if it fits. I've already done some on the bottom off camera, so let me see. And that is going to work now. Okay, so now that I've shown you that, because I did want you to see that, you know, you can do this without having a guide around it. You can, you know, do it freehand. I could have gone around each of these little images like this instead of making it, you know, kind of round. Or I could have used my scissors, but I just wanted you to see how I do it. You know, I also thought I should probably do a better description of how I separate the napkin layers. So what works best for me is I take my fingers and I lick them. Okay, sanitary, I don't know, but get them damp, and then I pinch, and when I pinch, they separate because the dampness is causing the napkin to stick. So that's how I separate it. I know other people that they will tear the edge. I've watched them do it, and I still don't know how they do it because I just tore the edge and it's still not separating. So again, lick my fingers and it separates right like that. It's separated. There we go. Okay, so I just wanted you to see that that's a way to separate the napkin layers. Okay, so I have my images ready, and you see that I have 2 containers of Mod Podge here. Basically, I just wanted to show you that they come in different sizes. There's another size in between here. I just happen to have this really gigantic 32-ounce jar of it. This is a 4-ounce bottle. They make some at, I've seen them at Dollar Tree that are even smaller. I think they're smaller than this, maybe 2 ounces. And then there's a middle one that's like 8 ounces. They have so many different sizes. But anyways, I'm going to be using Mod Podge for this. And I'm going to be using a sponge paintbrush. You can use a regular paintbrush. I'm going to be using some plastic wrap, and I'll show you why here in a little bit. Okay, so let me get everything ready and we'll get started. Okay, so if you're wondering about this, this is an empty tape roll. And I like saving these. They come in handy. So I am a trash to treasure girl. This is kind of a trash to treasure project. And what this is good for is holding the jar, the container, because if I put it down, you know, it could roll while I'm trying to work on it, and that can be messy. So that's what I kind of have that there for. And I've got my Mod Podge, and wait a minute, here we go. Got one of my images right there. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to apply some Mod Podge. Make sure it's clean first. I'm going to apply some Mod Podge and just a fairly thin layer, and probably going further than what I need, just to be sure that I have enough to cover the area. Let me kind of get an idea here. I think that's good. Okay, and then I am carefully going to put the image down. And once you do, it is down. Okay, you don't really want to lift it back up again. And I am gently touching it, okay, and kind of bringing it down. Now that is where that plastic wrap comes in, okay? So here we have plastic wrap. I'm going to put that over the top. And now I can kind of work it without tearing the napkin, without my fingers getting, you know, stuck in the Mod Podge. And this way I can smooth out all of the wrinkles and smooth everything down flat onto the jar. Well, this isn't exactly a jar. Well, it's a plastic jar. Okay. And I can tell that I may not have gotten enough Mod Podge over here. You could see that the napkin is not sticking. So I'm just going to come back over very carefully and add a little Mod Podge around the edge there. Got more than I wanted. Okay. And again, I'm going to come back over and flatten that out. Get it all smoothed out. I really love this plastic wrap technique because there's no way you could do this just directly on the napkin. It would just tear and wrinkle so much. Okay, so that is done. And now I'm carefully going to lift the plastic wrap and set that aside. And look at that. Is that beautiful or what? I love it. Okay, so next I'm going to let that dry so that I can turn it over, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side with this one. So I want it to be on 2 sides. So I will be back once that is done. And I have one little lump right there. There we go. Okay, so I will be back, and then we're going to go on to the next step. Okay, this is done and beautiful on both sides. And at this point, if you're doing something like this and that's as far as you're going, you would add either more Mod Podge or some other sealer to it. But I am not done, because now I'm going to be doing some foiling using some Gina K fancy foil. And let me move that there. There we go. This one is Twinkling Pink, even though it's not showing that pink right now on the screen. And this is a ThermoWeb product, and I love ThermoWeb, and they make transfer foil for Gina K and for other companies. And in my original picture, you saw this box of glue dots. which I was going to use because they work just great with the foil. But I finally found what I've been looking for in my drawer, and it is this Easy Cut adhesive. It is from iCraft, but again, this is a ThermoWeb product, so it's wonderful. And you know, with this, I was going to be putting dots on here because obviously these are glue dots, and so there's circles like this right here. But now that I have the Easy Cut adhesive, I can do hearts with my punch. And so here is a piece that I've already used before, but I'm just going to punch some hearts out, and then I'm going to show you how I'm going to use this. So I'll be right back once I get all the hearts punched out. Okay, so I've got my hearts cut out, and just so you know that this is a double-sided adhesive, so you lift up on the one side and you have it sticky, and then once you apply it to whatever you're going to put it on, whether it be cardstock or something like this, once you have that on there, then you can peel off the other side of it. So then the adhesive will be showing, and that's what the foil is going to be sticking to. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to, and this is really hard to do because you're supposed to remove one side of it and then attach it to, like, you know, the cardstock. And so doing it this way is really tricky, but I'm going to be taking these and just putting them randomly on here. So I just showed you, you know, how I did that, and I am going to continue to do it, but because it's going to take a while the way I did it, I am going to do this off camera, but then I will come back and we will move on to removing that and using the foil, and you are going to love it. Okay, I've got the hearts on there somewhat randomly, and I've already started removing the protective layer just because I didn't want to waste your time watching me peel them all off. But as you can see, the other protective layer comes off. So we had a protective layer that was, you know, on the bottom that we peeled off so that it would stick on there, and now I've got those off the top. And now this is the wonderful magical thing. People like to do foiling, and they think they have to do it with a machine, and you can't put things like jars through a machine, but yet you want to add foil. Guess what? You can. So I'm going to do this one heart at a time, just because if I laid this all the way across, I would have areas that get missed. So let me see here. And I don't mean areas of the hearts that get missed. I mean all the spaces here in between the hearts would just leave spaces here on my foil, and I don't want to waste any. So, well, there. I'll get these two at the same time. Okay, get that all rubbed on there. Look at that. I have foiled hearts on my jar, and I didn't need to put this through a machine, which wouldn't have been possible to begin with. So if you like foiling and you don't have a machine and you want to learn some techniques on how to do it without a machine, I will put a video linked on the screen at the end of this video that has some techniques. I actually have two videos that have techniques on foiling without a machine. And I'm sure that you would like them, because if you're anything like me, you don't have the machine to do it, or you want to do it on something like this. Is that cool or what? I'm sorry. I really love this. Of course, I can't see what I'm doing, so hopefully I got that over the heart. I did. Looks like I might have missed a couple areas there. Okay, so I'm just going to finish doing this, and then once I'm done doing this, I am going to put sealer over this whole over the whole jar. So it will cover the napkin images, and it will even cover these. And they don't need to be covered. And here I am trying to do this with my fingernails. And okay, I'm going to do this, the rest of this afterwards, because my fingernails are just grabbing these wrong. So give me a second. I'll finish telling you what I was going to do. Okay, there we go. I got those off. So I'm going to be spraying this with a sealer. You could use Mod Podge for a sealer, but a lot of my Mod Podges are in storage, and so I really don't have everything that I need to do this with. So what I'm going to end up using is this Krylon triple thick crystal clear glaze. And it's a bright glass-like coating, superior high gloss finish, non-firing glaze for bisque, plaster, and more. And it dries in minutes. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go spray this, and when it's dry, I'll be back, because next I'm going to put some ribbon around the top. And here is my finished project, and I added the ribbon and the bow off camera to save some time. And I love the beautiful glossy finish on this. It's so pretty. I love how this turned out. I love Disney princesses, and this would be so perfect for a little girl, or even a teenage girl, or even a big girl like me, because this is going to be in my craft room with my blending brushes in it. And here are before and after pictures, including a picture with the first project in it as well. And I think the colors of those two projects definitely complement each other. And for my third and final project, I'll be using these containers that my Viactive calcium chews come in, but they're the exact same size and shape container that my candy cane cocoa comes in, and I'm sure there's other things that come in these. And I found them to be perfect for holding my Spectrum Noir Tri-Blend markers, but I thought they needed a little dressing up, so today I'm going to be spraying 3 of them with Berry Pink Rust-Oleum spray paint. That is a paint and primer combined, and it also bonds to plastic, which is what these are made of. I gave them 3 coats of paint inside and out, and now I'm just going to have some fun using the splatter technique with these 3 different color paints. And I will be using Apple Tart and Island Blue and Violet. And I'm sad to say that for some weird reason, when the violet dried, it looks black. But that's okay, it still looks good. Oh, and here's a tip for you. When doing this technique, instead of beating your finger to death, you should use something like a paint stir stick or something else solid and sturdy to tap the paintbrush against. My contractor came by and shared that tip with me after I had already painted 2 sides. Also, I'm using a fan brush, but you can do this technique with a regular paintbrush as well. Here are my finished containers, and I love the paint splattered look. I think that is so perfect for the craft room. So it was just something fun to do. And I painted 3 sides, but I did not paint all 4 sides because they're going to be stacked on top of each other. So it's not going to matter. And I'm going to go do that right now so you can see what it looks like. So here is the before picture, and here is the after picture. What do you think? And here are all 3 of today's projects set up in my craft room. So these are just a few ideas of how to upcycle trash to treasure by doing a little altering and repurposing. And maybe you learned something new today from the techniques that I shared, like napkin crafting and foiling without a machine. I'll have some links right here on the screen as this video is ending to other videos where you can learn more about those techniques. Thank you all so much for stopping by today, and happy crafting, everyone. Bye-bye.